Alright, I got a discount for you. We're talking Xbox Live. Loads of gaming discounts. All you have to do is go to my description, copy my code from the description, paste my code. Woof, it's gaming time. Righto, Toyota champs now. Let's see if I'm recording. I don't trust this thing with audio, I'll tell you now. Am I actually recording? Yes, it says I'm recording. Oh. Now, this thing here may just be the laptop of the year. Well, you'll find out soon enough when I make my laptop of the year video. I've made many videos about this MacBook Pro 16. Check out the playlist in the description, but it ain't perfect. And this video, I'm going to tell you why you might want to keep your 15-inch MacBook Pro, why you should not buy this. And I've been mega positive about this, so don't go around saying like I'm just some Apple hater or something like that. I'm going to tell you the issues to watch out for with these MacBook Pros and what you should do when you get a new one. What should you check for? So first of all, this is my fourth unit. Why is it my fourth unit? Well, it's a long story, but let's make it short. That is a little bit misleading because actually the i7, I did consult, as Ash would say, my girlfriend, whether she would like to have that i7 16-incher. And I'll tell you what, she's used the big things, really, really big things. I'm telling you now. But the 16-inch was a bridge too far, a bit too big, so we're going to get her a smaller laptop. But that i7 was a dud, right? Thermally, it could do less watts sustained than the actual 15-inch, so it was only doing like 40-something watts sometimes under full load. I've made a video about that. You can check that out. But that was a dud thermally, so that's one of the things you got to check out for, and I'll tell you how to do that in a sec. So that was a dud. And plus my wife didn't want a 16-inch, so yeah, all right, return that. But this is my third i9 version. So let's talk about when you get them. When you get them, the first thing you're going to do when you get these MacBook Pros, you want to check that all the panels are aligned properly. The bottom panel, it doesn't have any gaps in it. When you close this lid, the top and bottom lid line up. Now, this is one of these things that you probably never even noticed if you had a 15-inch or a 16-inch MacBook Pro, that the lid and the base were not aligned. If you run your finger up like that, when that lid's closed, you'll find out whether it's flush or not. And most of them aren't. That's one thing to check for. All of mine were acceptable in that regard, so that wasn't a big issue there. Now, one of the reasons why you might want to pick up a 15-inch over this is sometimes 16-inch is just too big. It's too big. It's going to hurt to put in a bag that fits a 15-inch because, it's just too big. And the 15-inch is killer performance, and it's thin and light, and it's not as big as the 16-inch, obviously. So the 15-inch, go out there, have a look for some clearances, maybe some second-hand ones that still have Apple Care or something like that. You can pick those 15 inches up on a bargain. They are still awesome laptops. And if you want, if you get the lower end graphics, they're very quiet compared to these ones too. That's one other thing. The fans will come on earlier with this. I've noticed that even when I record, sometimes the fans will come on. So yeah, that is what it is. The Vega 20 wasn't exactly quiet, but you can get the last 15-inch, like if you get the lower end spec, you can get quieter fans. But the fans aren't that loud, to be perfectly honest. Compared to gaming laptops, they're really good. Now, once you've checked all the panels have lined up and everything's good, check the trackpad. Check. Just click on it. Is it rattly? One of the ones I returned, it was rattly. Every unit I've had has had coil whine, so that's 4 units with coil whine. All of them are acceptable except the second one, the one with the rattly trackpad. And these make a different sort of clunk. These trackpads don't actually move, but the Taptic engine was loose or something like that, and it was rattling. But you couldn't hear it when I recorded it because the coil whine. So that went back. That was the second unit. Now, the reason the first unit went back, that first i9 unit, there were a few problems. One, the screen was only 470 nits. I could have lived with that. That was fine. Secondly, the top lid and the base, it wasn't perfectly lined up, but it was acceptable. Yes, it did have coil whine, but the coil whine was acceptable, so that was okay. Thermals checked out, but then I started having a graphics glitch. And that just tipped me over the edge because, the screen wasn't as bright. The screen wasn't 500 nits. The panel was a bit out of line, a little bit of coil whine. I could have accepted all those things. But then when we had the graphics glitch as well, it's like, nah, okay, that just tips me over the edge there. I don't know what's going on. If it's a driver issue or there's a problem with this graphics, I'm not going to find out just send it back. And if the next one doesn't have that problem, I know it was the graphics. Or maybe this one hasn't had that problem. Well, this is the third one. This isn't the one that's been returned for rattly trackpad and coil wine. This one here seems to be good. The thermals aren't that great on this. The panel is like 510 nits. And that's one of the things, right? I've had 4 MacBook Pro 16. I'm rounding off here, but one was 470 nits, one was 490 nits, one was 510 nits, and one was 530 nits. So all different brightnesses. Now, the best thing to do is just get one of these. This is not what I use for my testing. I use the X-Rite i Pro or whatever the hell it's called. This is like the cheapest good colorimeter. And this is what you want to use. You want to use something like Display Cal. Just test the brightness of it. You have to turn off True Tone and you have to turn off automatic brightness, but then test it. See how much nits you have. If you have under 450 nits, return it, because that's more than 10%, I think. So is my maths right? I don't know, but under 450 nits, I would say that's not acceptable. You want to check the battery too. There's tutorials on how to check battery. Just go into About Mac, check the power, and then check that your battery is at least 8,700. Then you want to check the thermals. And rather than look at wattage, which is, what I would sort of look at, you really want to be looking at Cinebench scores. If you have an i7, you want a Cinebench score of at least 2,250 to be considered like the lower end of average. If you're under 2,250, or even if you had 2,300 on Cinebench with the i7, that's R20 in a room that's less than 23 degrees, I'll be returning that. Now with the i9s, it's a bit different. I got up to 3,500 on one's 3,300, one's 3,200. That's sort of like the rough sort of Cinebench they get on all of them. So that's 3 different units with massive difference. We're talking up to 300 points difference from the best one to the worst one. And the worst one I would consider average. That's the 3,200. That's the lowest you want to get with the top of the line i9. That's the 5 gigahertz. If you have the 2.3 or 4.8 gigahertz one, so the base i9, you want to at least be getting 3,000, 3,100 is a sort of like a low end score. Really, you want about 3.2. That would be good. But then this is going to depend on silicon, the temperature of the room, etc. But they're the sort of scores you want to look for. Also, other than those issues, I've had the issue with the audio. Is the actual audio still recording now? Please be recording. Yes. Hope. Well, at least it's recording now at the moment, but yeah, look what happens. Oh my God, perfect timing. Now I'm actually recording the issues with the 16-inch MacBook Pro. As you can see there, logic, no audio. So I'm recording into my phone. I've got my interface plugged in. If we have a look there, the power light's coming on and off. Now, the MacBook Pro 16 is the only laptop that does this. It'd be a hell of a coincidence to say that there's something wrong with this audio interface. No. Only plays up with the 16-inch MacBook Pro. Don't know why. Now, there's one other reason why I don't think you should get this 16-inch, or why you should consider not getting it. These things are expensive when you spec them up. You're going to spend a big chunk of money on this. If you can hold out, think of what is coming. Next year, the MacBook Pro 16, this one, should come out with Wi-Fi 6. And if you're thinking of upgrading to Wi-Fi 6, do not get this. It plays up with Wi-Fi 6 all the time. It is unusable far away from the actual Wi-Fi 6 base. So if you're going to Wi-Fi 6, just don't buy this. Next year, these should have Wi-Fi 6. They should have 10th generation CPUs. Now, they will be 14 nanometer, 45 watts. But the desktop is supposed to have 10 cores. I don't see why these won't come out with a 10-core i9. Not only that, I expect the i7 to be 8 cores. Also, that Minjiho, he said mini LED displays coming. So you could have a HDR mini LED display in this MacBook Pro next year. Now that's not expected till the end of next year, but think if you can wait, this laptop next year, possibly 10 cores, 8-core i7, Wi-Fi 6, mini LED. So if you just spent this massive chunk of money on this now, and that one comes out next year, you're going to be depressed, aren't you? So, I mean, that's how things are. But I'm saying if you can wait, if not, yeah, go for it. Go for your life. This is an amazing laptop. To just recap what you've got to look for, you've got to look for all the panels lining up, top, lid, bottom, the panel underneath. You've got to look for rattly trackpad, coil wine, check the display is more than 450 nits, check that the battery is more than 8,700, and then check the thermals. All right, so some other things. Battery drain. The battery drain is still there, so yeah, that is what it is. Even with 96 watts, it still drains the battery. I suppose 96 watts is, I reckon they should have went to a 100 watt power supply. I think that was the limitation of the Pro XDR display. And talking about displays, yeah, it is a ghosty display. You know, most of these high resolution sort of content creation, wide color gamut displays are ghosty. I bet you that Pro XDR 6K $6,000 display from Apple is ghosty as well. If you want a game, do not buy the 5500. With that one, you get more power limit throttling, more sort of thermal throttling with that one. I had a much better gaming experience on the 5300 graphics. Although the 5500 is more powerful and will give you more FPS, it just, yeah, like playing something like Battlefield, it'll just, you know, throttle all the time there. Also, when you plug in an external display, you're going to lose about 10 watts of sustained, you know, CPU power. The fans come on. And once you connect an external display, and I'm sure I've got a few things. If I have, I will leave them in the description. If all those things check out, happy days. You're going to have an awesome machine for a long time. And also, if you can wait till next year, you're probably going to get a much better laptop next year. Imagine 10 cores. Wow. Anyway, catch you in the next one, guys. Tally ho.